Hey y'all, it's your girl Toyia T. And again, we're coming with a great episode. We're hoping to get some conversation going. This is our State of the City show with Vice Mayor Kearney and Iris Roley. I'm going to let them introduce themselves. Ladies, we are so happy to have you. Go ahead. I'm going to start with Vice Mayor Kearney. If you could just do a brief introduction for our viewers.
Okay, Toyia, thank you for having me, and producer to Michael Bobo, thank you as well. And hi to Iris Roley, who is really the star of the show because she is fantastic. So, and I'm really happy to be here with all of you. So I'm Vice Mayor of the City of Cincinnati. Just real quickly, I grew up in Cincinnati, grew up in Avondale, went to Rockdale Elementary, shout out to Rockdale, Walnut Hills High School, Dartmouth College, went to Talladega for a little bit as an exchange program, Harvard Law School, and then my daughter just passed me a note. I'm sorry, I had to stop to talk to her. And then I'm sorry, President CEO of Sesh Communications, and we own the Cincinnati Herald newspaper and some other publications. We do things like the Daddy Daughter Dinner Dance and Nefertiti Awards. Anyway, in March of 2020, I was asked to serve on City Council. I was appointed, and then this past November, I was elected to serve a full term, which is only 2 years. But that's where I am now. And so I was appointed the mayor, appointed me vice mayor, and so here we are.
All right. Well, we're happy to have you. Thanks again for joining us.
You're welcome.
Iris, you want to do a quick intro?
Sure. And thank you for having me, Toyia T. And Mikey Bobo, thank you for producing such a wonderful show on a wonderful topic. And I'm so excited to be here with the Vice Mayor, Jan-Michele Kearney, the best Vice Mayor that the city has. My name is Iris Roley. I am partner of Rosho Awards and Graphics, the largest Black-owned laser engraving, trophy-making, signage apparel, promotional item provider in the region, in the city of Cincinnati. I own that with my husband, Jesse Roley, and our 3 sons. I live in I live in Pleasant Ridge. I don't know what to say. I'm a community taxpayer that takes life seriously and really fight for return on our investment, meaning our tax dollar. I am known for the very prestigious historic work on police reform called the Collaborative Agreement, when the Cincinnati Black United Front, ACLU of Ohio, sued the city, the FOP, and its police for racial profiling. We've been working on that, Toyia, for 20 years, and I am so anxious to report out to the city on the state of policing, more specifically the state of Black policing in the city of Cincinnati. I am the chair of legal redress and public safety for the local chapter of the NAACP. I am a member of the unofficial juvenile court in Madisonville, and of course, one of the amazing producers of our summer enrichment math program. My name is Iris Roley, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Thanks for having me.
We are so excited to have both of you guys on this show today. We have our State of the City show sponsored by the Better Business Bureau. And we want to start with the first question of really just looking at all the things that are going on around the world. We got the pandemic. We've got a whole war going on. We got the job market the way that it is. And then DeWine just recently made Ohio an open carry state. Like, what else could we do, right? They always say that Cincinnati is at the epicenter because either things start here, they end here. Somehow Cincinnati is in and of it. What would you say in terms of your thoughts on how all of these things that are happening around the world are going to impact the people of Cincinnati? And how have they impacted in the past?
Vice Mayor, yes.
Okay. All right. Well, that's a really great question. First of all, the pandemic. We've been in this for 2 years now, and we're still behind with vaccinations. I mean, we have to get vaccinated. Our community, I remember when this first started, there were some rumors like, Black people can't get COVID. And then we found out not only do we get COVID, we're dying at a higher rate of, with COVID. And so that was really eye-opening. And then, a lot of people are afraid to get vaccinated. They think, I've heard a lot of different things. They think it makes you sterile, which it doesn't. They think, like the government's putting chips in you, which isn't true because they don't need to. They've got your cell phone. They don't have to put they'll have to put chips in, just all kinds of things. But there's so much misinformation out there. And so we really need to get vaccinated, get our children vaccinated, get safe. So that's one thing. In terms of businesses, a lot of Black businesses, for example, most of them are like 1 to 2 employees, and their revenue is less than $150,000. So Black businesses cannot afford to go through this COVID experience where people are not supporting them. And so Black businesses need a lot of support. Businesses in general need support, but we really have to look at our Black businesses. When COVID first started, so let's see, back in January of 2020, we had about 1 million Black businesses across the country. And by April, like 40% of them had closed. Like 400,000 had closed.
Wow.
And
that's a big number.
That's a big number in a short period of time. And what happened, we couldn't get all that, PPP stuff. We didn't have those relationships with the banks. Sometimes we didn't have the right information they needed. They needed all these, all of this data, which in a lot of small businesses, it's just like day to day, keeping it going. So, I mean, it's been really, really rough. A lot of people lost their jobs. A lot of us, couldn't shelter at home. We had to go out, we had to drive the buses, empty the garbage, whatever. We couldn't just sit at home and shelter in place. So it's been really, really rough.
Right. And now you don't want to go anywhere because the gas is $5.
Yeah. So now we're, there's a war going on, and, that's pretty frightening. Because, whenever they start calling people to war, we're the first ones to have to go. So, that really makes me nervous. I mean, Russia needs to be ashamed, but that's a whole nother issue. And then you asked me about, and I know Iris is going to talk about this, concealed carry thing, or this, we don't need permits. I mean, this is crazy. This is crazy. We have gun violence that is just skyrocketing. We have young people getting guns. People are renting guns. People are sharing guns. Guns are everywhere. And then to say we're going to lift restrictions on guns, that is just counterintuitive to what is going on. It's just ridiculous. Children are finding guns. You saw a story, was it yesterday morning, when a lady and her husband found a gun in their couch because one of their friends, one of their kids' friends had left it there. This is ridiculous. Guns are easy to get. And so for them to make less restrictions on guns so that more people get shot is just crazy. And so that's some kind of right-wing crazy mentality, frankly. It's just wrong. It's wrong.
Yeah. Do we have are there any laws that we can change locally that will minimize the effect of the open carry, or is it because it's a state, right? It's mandated by the state. There's nothing that we can do citywide, right?
Well, I shouldn't say there's nothing we can do. We can raise our voices. We can't change the law, but we can raise our voices. We can call the people who can change the law. We can be very vocal about it, because I think it's about politics. Elections are coming up, and so people are looking for their base. And if the governor's base is moving to the right, then he's going to move to the right. That's just how it works. And so we need to make sure that the people who are against this kind of crazy stuff, what does that say, Iris? Vote. Yeah, vote. That's right. Got to vote.
Absolutely. And we're getting close to the
point. That's
to the summer, right? And that's when the gun violence go up. And so then we want to take away the restrictions. Iris, what do you think about it? I know you've seen the past, present, and I'm sure you have thoughts about the future.
Yeah, I think our vice mayor was spot on and just running it down. So I'm going to quickly go through some things that the vice mayor brought up when we talk about the pandemic and what COVID is and isn't, and the disparities. I think one of the biggest things that COVID has shown us are the disparities. It uncovered a lot of things. It made us look at things that people had never, ever really truly looked at before. And so when the cover is pulled off and you see these huge gaping disparities, whether it's health or healthcare access, we fought to get the first Black standing testing site in a Black community in the city of Cincinnati. And I remember having that conversation with one of the largest healthcare providers in our region. And they said, well, we already have 4 testing sites in the suburb. And this was in April of 2021. And I literally cried on the phone. And they didn't know, but I thought, here is the disparity again, because all we really wanted was to be able to get tested so that we would understand how COVID impacted the Black community. That is not a bad thing. That is a good thing. And you would have, to me, you would think that the healthcare providers would have opened up so that the conversations around conspiracy theories, when we talk about Tuskegee and we talk about the university hospital and the radiation experiment that they did locally, people wouldn't have to say these things about how COVID was rolled out. But we saw it rolled out in the same way that the poor people, the Black people couldn't get a test. We just simply wanted to get a test so we can do like Jan said, so we can keep the rest of our family members and ourselves safe, and that we were following along, because it hit us like this. We didn't have the protection of the federal government as we have had protection before. When global things like this hit our shores, the first protection is your federal government. We didn't have that this time. We had a president that was telling us it wasn't real what we were seeing. Right. And we looking at all these other countries saying, oh, it's real. So what COVID did do for us was uncover some things. And I think that we should not lull ourselves back to sleep simply because we're seeing the numbers go down. However, the vice mayor made a very important point. In Hamilton County, the disparities there, African Americans died at a higher rate of COVID and COVID-related deaths in the county than any other people. We have got to get the correct information. We have got to make sure that we do get vaccinated. If you want to go to another country, there are shots that you have to take, and I'm quite sure people don't know what that is. But I think with the shabby rollout of testing, of vaccinations, it just lent to the conspiracy theory. So I wish that we could remove that. But COVID did show the world some disparities, and I want to say that. But I also want to say that it is up to us. We are the first and original scientists. Imhotep was a scientist on the continent of Africa, and we should not take these things lightly. We should be teaching our children to become researchers and scientists. It is your nature to ask why. The next one, the war. Man, let me tell you something. I am in conversation with my family, because if a bomb hits these shores, I need to know which way we're going to go. I need to make sure that we have money on hand, that we have food. We need to understand what this really means, even though it's in Ukraine. Ukraine isn't that far away. And missiles and bombs can travel a lot further than bullets in a gun. And they destroy more, they kill more people. So we need to pay attention to the conversations, and we need to listen to our legislators, those we know that are giving us the correct analysis of what's happening in the Ukraine. And it is going to impact us. It's already impacted our gas. The cost has gone up. It's impacting our food. I mean, come on. Food has gone up since the pandemic. But since the war, food is going up also. You need to be paying attention to deliveries, your mail. You need to just be paying attention to your family. How do we get to seniors if something happens? Let's not think that it won't, because it could happen just in a.
That's a really good point, Iris. The one thing that I wanted to kind of piggyback off of that is, how are we doing in terms of providing resources when we think about all the pandemic relief that's starting to go away because it's starting to expire? And at some point, that's going to have a trickle down into Cincinnati as it relates to foreclosures and repossessions. Are we starting to pay attention to that and provide resources so that we don't have these abandoned communities? What's available right now in terms of?
I'm telling you, Toyia, you're asking the right questions. And I think what it's going to take is for women, because we do it well and we do it better, is to drive these conversations and to start having them. You're not too young to have these conversations right now. Where are the resources? How is our government getting prepared? This conversation that we need to know from our city council. What preparation are they doing? What if something happens to our water? What if something happens to our roads, our bridges? What are we expected to do in these times? And then, Toyia, here's the other part that I want to connect COVID and the war to. Our mental health now. Our mental health. And we're dying more of stress-related illnesses because these things are stressful. We have these apparatuses. We have our phone. We have our laptops. We have all these things that we can get all of this information. What is it doing to our psyche? What is it doing to our soul? Are people feeling overwhelmed? Are we checking in on the elders? It's too much on children that they are thinking. And everybody is just in a state of confusion and a state of stress. So between COVID, the war, and now, yes, Ohio is a permitless state. But let me say something to you, Toyia. Gun safety is critical. And what this did was just remove a very small part of gun safety. Training should occur more than once when you buy a gun. Why the state of Ohio had to go permitless when we're stand your ground already, right?
Right.
So we're stand your ground. Now we have a permitless state. This is going to wreak havoc on the Black and brown and poor communities as these guns find their way into our community. We already are over in abundance and police violence against citizens. We have citizen on citizen violence. Now, if I pull off in front of you, and I just saw it coming home, cars pulling in front of, and everybody's got a gun and everybody's strapped and everybody's ready to go. Pow, pow, pow. And then what do we do with all of this?
Right.
And the reason that I did say that, I put up that sign, where'd it go? Because it's so critical for us to vote, for people to make reasonable, practical legislation. Do not keep up
Absolutely.
with this. All of these things smack us in the face because these types of laws smack in the face what we're trying to do here in Cincinnati under the collaborative agreement and get fairness, equitable treatment from our police. We already hear police say what? The 5 words. I fear for my life. And so when they say that, they mean that, right? Now we don't have
Right.
permits. So anybody with a tinted window, because we have issues around tinted windows in the city of Cincinnati and the police pulling you over. And if they assume that you have a gun, and where it's supposed to come up once they read your license plate, it will no longer come up. So if you make
Wait. It still will come up. So that's the key point for me is my ex-husband had to carry conceal, and I didn't want to drive his car because it does come up to say that he has to carry conceal. And what that says to me is that now, and I look at it as the hunted, right? So if you're a hunter and you're out in the wilderness and the Black men are being hunted, well, now the ones with the carry conceal are the only ones that have a target.
Exactly.
That's the
So
piece that I think people need to understand, because the ones
Yeah.
that don't have the carry conceal, you don't necessarily know that they have it because now we're open carry. But the
they
ones
have
that did have it, that's going to show up whenever they pull them over. It comes up on their license, and the police officer
It's
knows
supposed
that
to.
that's what
It's
the case
supposed
is.
to, because Philando Castile didn't come up. I just want to say this, Jan-Michele. It's called constitutional carry.
Yeah.
That is what is called constitutional carry, because people believe that this is about their Second Amendment. Yes, ma'am, Vice Mayor.
Well, Iris, what I heard you saying, and I was trying to say to Toyia, is that the assumption now will be that there's a gun in there, even if it doesn't show up. And I think that's what Iris was saying.
That's what I'm saying. Yes.
Everybody's open to suspicion.
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, that's going to cause more gun violence from the police to the citizen, because now they're going to think everyone has it, but especially the ones that have a carry conceal, they're going to be hyper sensitive to those people because they know that they have it. So I am curious, Vice Mayor Kearney, what are we putting in place locally with the new administration and everything that's gone on to protect our citizens and to help people feel more comfortable with where we're going as a city, as a state? What can you offer up there?
Well, so what I think we have to do is make sure that our police here are trained. So training is a key. Bias training is really key. Don't assume because somebody's Black, they've got a gun, they're a threat. And a lot of that is because, we have to make sure, everybody's got biases, right? Everybody's got prejudices. So we can't go in and assume people don't. We have to assume, our officers do. And what do we do to put safeguards in place? I know one of our council members, and Iris, I don't know how you feel about this, but she was talking about a program called ABLE that apparently the Hamilton County Sheriffs went through. And this is Council Member Parks who was talking about that. So she's going to show that program to us. I know the MAG that Iris formed, the city managers advisory group, works on these issues. And so, we really look to them for guidance about what do we need to put in place. But Toyia, I think you're right. Given that we have this permitless state now, we need to put some extra safeguards in place. Are we ready for this? Are we ready for this?
And Toyia, so the police are afraid, and the police did testify in the State House. And so I want to give kudos to them. There were multiple. Now, this legislation started last year. And at first, there were some police departments that were for it because it didn't it wasn't directly saying, let's go permitless. And then all of a sudden it just flipped to total permitlessness, right? Which is going to have a serious impact on us. I believe, I pray that it does not. I pray that we don't see more gun violence. We definitely don't need to. And why in America do we need all these guns anyway? I really want to have the very hard conversation about some serious gun control, protection from guns, and especially as it relates to children. The part around gun safety, Toyia, is something that we're doing in the city of Cincinnati that I don't think anyone else is doing in the country. And it's with Rufus Johnson. He's currently in the schools teaching gun safety to young Black children. And I've gone with him to these sessions, and the information that children have around guns is too much. Mm-hmm. We, as the adults, the grown people, the ones that are supposed to be creating a nation for children to live and to dream and to grow up, and then they take over, are not doing a very good job. All they see is violence, whether it's in music, videos, cartoons, the games that they play. Everything is shoot them, shoot them, shoot them, shoot them, shoot them, shoot them dead, shoot them, shoot them, shoot them. Right. Every song that you hear from the record companies, because somebody is putting money behind these. Kill, 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 kill. Nothing about living, nothing about loving, nothing about learning. The whole world is teaching children to hate and be violent. And then when they do, we have the audacity to say we need to do something to them, or that as our unsophisticated prosecutors said, we need to take them out of their homes, without even understanding that we have created this society for them. It is our job, and it is time for grown people to stand up and do the work that we need to do, so that they can live happily and not worry about dying. Let me just say this: if you've not heard the song by Troy Fagan, a contestant on American Idol, Google him and listen to that song. If that song does not motivate you to do something, something's wrong with you. Something is absolutely wrong with you.
Well, let me say, So one thing, Toyia, I'm really happy about is that, with Iris as the chair of this committee, some council members and community members are working together to resurrect CCY, Citizens Commission on Youth. Now, what happened, there were two different groups working on it. People were, and every neighborhood committee meeting that we had, people would come up afterwards, and because we were talking about gun violence, especially with youth and problems with youth, and people would come up and say, CCY saved my life. I was like going the wrong way, and CCY saved my life. I had a job. I had a mentor. I had somebody to talk to. And it was around for 57 years. I don't know.
57 years, yes.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to it, but it's gone, and we need it now. This is the time we really need it the most.
We need it. We definitely need it back. We had CCY when I worked for Cincinnati Public back in 2004. So I'm familiar with CCY, and
we're gonna come back and do a show on that, Toyia. We're gonna come back. Absolutely. Come on, we need to put Toyia on the committee to help reimagine.
Absolutely, yeah. And so it's and as Iris says, it might be called something different, but it's going to be a program that helps young people get jobs, get mentors, get tutoring if they need it, get counseling if they need it. Something that's going to love on our young people so that they're not out here in the streets, with the guns and, having fights and, all that kind of stuff.
Because at the core of it is purpose, right? And so just like adults, kids need purpose. And I think that's what's happening when you look all around, and you got COVID, you got the pandemic, you got the war, you got people losing their houses, losing their cars. It's really hard to have purpose when you don't have a place to live, when you can't have freedom to just get up and take a shower and put on clothes. I mean, that's a big deal. And I think a lot of times we take it for granted because it's something that we get easily. But once you're put in these war zones and you have to live in those conditions, it changes your perspective. And so now we think about gas prices being as high as this. People aren't trying to go to work if they got to pay $5 to go and make $8 an hour.
Come on.
I just paid $5 of the $8 to go.
Come on.
I'm not trying to go to work.
And that's the gas to go in your car, not in your house to heat it. And I know we're still in March, and hopefully it doesn't get any colder because that's going up. Those costs are going up. I think our water, some of our water rates may have gone up. We know that food are going up. We know that things are going up except incomes. And if you don't have certain levels of education and degrees, your income isn't being raised. But I want to just digress for 1 second because there's one thing that
point, though. You're right about that. Yeah.
One thing that
and Cincinnati is one of the lower income. One of the lower educated, especially among the Black community.
State of Ohio, its minimum rate is criminal. Its minimum rate of pay is criminal. No one can make it on that. But let me say this: Black businesses are so critical to our existence that we cannot forget to do business with Black businesses. We see a lot of crowdsourcing and a lot of go here and go in the banks and do all that. It's not one Black business on the bank. And when it was a business on the bank, we had to fight like hell to keep it down there.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mahoganies. Oh my goodness.
Come on. Come on.
Let's say it.
So the vice mayor is a business owner, and so am I. And for the past 20 years in doing this work for the city around police reform, more specifically for Black people, what fed me was Rosho. I didn't have a contract to advise the city then. I didn't have any of that. And you best believe some folk didn't like Iris Roley saying we need equitable, transparency, fair treatment, because that never expires, Toyia. People, you know something, Vice Mayor, it really burns a hole in my head when people say, well, you know the collaborative expired. Well, you don't know legal language, so let me give you an index. When the expiration ended, it ended the federal oversight, not fairness, not creating opportunities for better policies and better training and better treatment, not accountability. That never ends. And why does it, when we talk about Black people, there's an expiration date all the time?
Right, there's always expiration on us. Okay, but we have 2 minutes left, and I know we could go on probably for another hour, but I would be remiss if I don't say anything about the potholes. I need somebody, they done talk to me till I'm blue in the face. They say they need some resources for the potholes. We need to know what resources.
Okay, let me tell you, we're about to have a pothole blitz. We even have city council members seriously getting out there filling up potholes. Well, we were going to do this last week, but the snow was coming, and so our Department of Public Services had to ask us to hold off on the potholes because they were getting the streets ready for the snow. Really, the time to treat the potholes is really April. We're doing it in March because people were so upset about it, which, rightfully so. But potholes happen because of the weather, but we're going to fix them in March. So everybody just hold tight. Drive super carefully, which you should anyway, and we're gonna fix them in April.
Can we get some better materials? Because it seems like every season there's a pothole on Langdon Farm. It's about 72 potholes on the whole Langdon Farm.
We're gonna be over there.
Right, you don't have cars inside the pothole, Iris. The whole party. It's no bueno.
All the gear. We are ready to go.
I hit a pothole and it went from CD to radio. I was like, you know what?
So in the last minute, any other resources that we want to call out?
Real fast. I have there are 2 housing fairs coming up, 2 home ownership workshops.
Okay.
They're both free. One is March 23rd at Price Hill Rec Center. One is March 30th at the Evanston Community Center. They're 5:30 to 7:30. We're going to talk about home ownership and how to get more Black and brown and low income people into some homes so they
bring
can
the banks
home and not
absolutely
rent.
Bring the banks. Bring the banks,
Jan-Michele. We got to call them out. Can I say we need them there? Tell Kevin.
Talking all at once.
Listen, if you want to get involved and work on police reform in the city of Cincinnati, please don't hesitate to email me at irisroley@gmail.com. There is a lot of work to do. This is our 20th year, Toyia. We need to give ourselves a hand.
Woo-hoo!
We need to give ourselves a huge hand. It's been 20 years we've been working on this. We got a vice mayor that fights for the original CA, the refresh, and Iris Roley, and pushing and getting this work done. We need everybody
fighting together. Thank you.
Everybody
Thank you for Iris.
Well, ladies, we appreciate your fight. We appreciate you fighting the good fight, and we know we still have more work to do. But we thank you, and we'll go forward from here. Y'all have a good night.
All right. Thank you.
That's the word for tonight.
Purpose. Right. I love it. Purpose and vote. Purpose and vote.
That's right. Don't forget.
Use your power. There you go.
Use your power.
Use your power. All right. Bye-bye.
All right, ladies. Take care.
Today's episode of The Plug is sponsored by the BBB, the Better Business Bureau. The Better Business Bureau works to be a leader in advancing marketplace trust through ethics. This is done by setting a standard of marketplace trust, encouraging and supporting best practices by engaging with consumers and businesses, celebrating marketplace role models, addressing substandard marketplace behaviors, and creating a community of trustworthy businesses and charities. The Plug thanks all of our sponsors for helping us keep you connected.